Welcome to Mom to More. I'm your host, Sharon Macey. Join me as I speak with interesting and dynamic women who have reinvented themselves and created their more, using the superpowers and skills they honed as stay-at-home moms. They will share their experiences, struggles, and successes as they return to a former career, pursued a passion or hobby, or charted an entirely new path, giving you the clarity and inspiration to help you answer the question, what do you want to do when your kids grow up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mom to More podcast. My guest today is Alison Bruhn. She is the mom of the mother-daughter duo who founded The Style That Binds Us. Alison is a national style and image consultant serving clients across the country. She studied at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City and is a member of the Association of Image Consultants International. The purpose of Alison's work is to empower women through creating a visual brand and transforming their style to ignite a new path of confidence and independence. Alison's expertise is frequently called upon by top-tier publications, including, okay, are you ready? The New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Zoe Report, Forbes, HuffPost, Bustle, Well and Good, Elle, Condé Nast, Traveler, People, InStyle, Brides, Southern Bride, and more, as well as public speaking engagements and podcast interviews. With her decade of experience, she has access to an extensive network of connections inside the fashion industry. And welcome, Alison. I'm so thrilled you're here.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here too. I'm proud of you and I'm proud of me for what we're doing.
Proud of both of us.
Yeah.
So, all right. So off the bat, I am ready to start shopping. So let's, and we have a lot to unpack,
Right.
Pun intended,
Right.
in this episode. So let's just jump in.
Sure.
Okay. So my first essential mom question is, how many kids do you have and where did you raise them?
I have one daughter and I raised her she was born in Memphis and then she grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. And now she lives in New York City and she's my business partner.
And we're gonna get into that. And I know that you had Delia and you spent many years as a stay-at-home mom. And so I'd like to ask you, why was it important for you to stay home with Delia? And how many years roughly did you do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was a kindergarten teacher and so I had 15 children that call me mom, basically, you know,
a mom to many.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I had recently remarried. And at the time, so I had two little stepchildren at the time, and a new husband and, you know, my daughter, and then these 15 kindergartners. So something needed to go. And obviously, you know, the kindergartners, you know, had other mothers.
Right.
And so I took a break, what I thought was a break from teaching, to get my newly blended family together. And then I did some subbing later on, but I never went back to full-time teaching, even though I adored it. But I guess it was, you know, my mother had been a stay-at-home mom, and because I was a kindergarten teacher too, you know, I would always go to school and help with the projects or go on field trips, all those things that I loved. So I got to be around all the kids and also be there for my daughter. And, you know, and it just was special to me because I think that I do not think poorly in any way about moms who work, you know, all the way through raising their kids too, because you know, it's hard enough when you're home trying to keep all the balls in the air, but then when you're also working full time, and then you come home and everybody's waiting patiently, or not so patiently yeah. for you, waiting for their time to get, you know, to be with you. So but that's why I was able to choose that. And then when Delia got older and she had gone to college, I realized that, you know, you're sad, devastated for a little bit. And then you think, wait a minute, this is kind of cool because, you know, I have this time now to do something, you know,
time for
Right,
you finally. Yeah.
right. And, use your brain in a different way and
Mhm.
everything. So that's how that worked.
And arguably with your background as a teacher, what you're doing now, which we're obviously going to get more into,
Mhm.
you still utilize
Oh,
that skill that you have.
totally.
You are sort of a forever teacher, forever
Right,
mom, right? And
right,
you're forever teaching people,
right.
the
Absolutely.
knowledge that you have. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. It's certainly teaching them a skill, but it's also being able to figure out if something is bothering someone or when they're feeling vulnerable. Just like if it's a child that comes to you and you can tell something's not right, and you take them out in the hall and you say, "What's going on?" You're really having some fights and stuff like that, and then they break down in tears and say, "Mommy and Daddy are fighting," or whatever. You have that intuition. So it's the same thing when you're working with a grown up. If you can get to that point and find out really what the issue is, then you're more successful in helping someone get over, a hump,
Mhm.
and feel more confident and happy.
And you just said something really important. Women have a unique intuition,
Right.
like a sixth sense, so to speak.
Right.
And I think that's why a lot of women are so successful in their next acts, because
Right.
it's just one of the skill sets that we bring is having the ability to read between the lines.
Right.
And you can sense if something's not right. You can sense if someone's not happy,
Right.
perhaps in a way that oftentimes men cannot.
No, totally. They're like, "What are you talking about? I didn't notice
Right.
that at all."
No, trust me. Yeah.
We know how
Something's
that
not right
goes.
here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So Delia goes off to school and you're like, okay, after we get over the, oh my God, my child went away to
Mhm.
college and here I am. Let's talk about your story of reinvention. Yes, Delia went away to school. What else? Was there something else going on in your life that made you think, you know what, there is so much more in store for me? I have a skill
Right.
set. What am I going to do now that she's away in college? What do I want to do when my kid
Right.
grows up? Take
Right.
me through, or take
Mhm.
our listeners through your thought process.
Well, I am a forever learner. I just love to soak up knowledge. And so one day I was folding laundry and I thought, I, I can't just do this for the rest of my life.
Isn't it amazing what we think of when we're just folding laundry?
Yes, yes. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's so much out there that I haven't learned yet. Wait a minute, I don't know about that. Like just so much stuff. So I thought, okay, I had the luxury of not having to work at the time. So I spent some time researching, think of the things you love and and would that be a good fit? So the first thing I thought about, which I think everyone probably thinks about at one point or another, is travel agent, because love to travel, have the time now, right? So I had a friend who owned a travel agency and she let me come in and we discussed a bunch of things and she had me do a project for her. And during the project, I realized this is really so much on the computer.
Mhm.
And also, what if I did something that screwed up somebody's once in a lifetime trip? I don't think that's the kind of pressure I want to put myself under now,
So you're
and
saying at that moment in time, a computer was just not your friend yet?
still not totally.
Okay.
Thank goodness I work with my daughter because, I'm always fumbling around with computers. But anyway, so I said, okay, that's not it. And then the second thing was my mother loves antiques, always has. So we decided to have a little antique business. And we did that for a little while. And because I love beautiful things. And then one day when I'm moving a chair around or something, I thought, this is not me. This is my mother. I have spent my life doing things for my mother and my daughter and my husband and whoever else. I want to figure out something that's for me. So that's when I started looking at continuing education programs and things like that. And I love New York, and Delia, was moving to New York, and my aunt and uncle live here and everything. So I thought, I wonder what FIT has. And the key point here to me is all my life, if you cared too much about what you wore or, went shopping a lot and all that kind of stuff for clothes, you were vain and shallow and sort of self-centered. And so that might be something maybe.
That's interesting.
I know.
Is that like more of a Southern thing?
I think it must be.
Okay.
Right. But you need to look
Always
nice.
look a certain way.
Right. But it's sort of frowned upon, to be a clothes horse and kind of just pay attention to yourself and your own body. It's different if you're buying a bunch of antiques, if you're decorating your house, if you have a second home, all that is very different than
personal.
I know.
Isn't that interesting? That's got to be like a Southern thing.
I think it must be. But
my mother-in-law grew up. She's from the South as well. Yeah.
I asked her that. But the main point being, I thought this is kind of really what I've wanted to do for a long time. But people would think, what? That's shallow, and that's not you. And, I don't know, there were so many things. And this was a real moment in my life that I thought, why am I thinking so much about what other people would think? If this is something that I will be fulfilled by and enjoy, and in the process, teach and help other people, why in the world, go for it. So I did. So I learned the science behind getting dressed at FIT, and I had, and a career was born at age 50.
I love that. So it really is your second act.
Right.
And you have created your more. So what I'm getting from what you've just said is that moms create out of need and necessity, but also by recognizing our inherent talents.
Right.
What are things that speak to us, that thrill us, that make us smile, that make us want to get up in the morning.
Right.
And so you've managed to, merge all of that together in such a fashionable and wonderful way. So, but I think that's a really strong lesson to moms, is that you need to do some introspection, and whether it involves going back to school. I mean, I went back to school during the pandemic. I went back. I was
so proud of you.
Yeah. And I think I applaud all women who take the time out, and it's obvious it's always more time than you think it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
But to do that and to elevate your skill set, which will then over time prepare you for whatever it is you want your next act to be.
Right. Definitely. And try, like, sometimes when I work with my clients, I get them to create a mood board. If I can tell they have totally checked out of who they are, they are all these other roles. So we do a mood board, and in the process, a lot of times they'll say, my mother always told me that I looked bad in green. But you know what? I actually love green, and I don't even think I look bad in it. They start realizing these, oh, I forgot I love to garden, or, oh, I forgot music was important to me, or,
That's great. You just crystallized it. I forgot that I used to love fill in the blank. Right. Absolutely.
Or these myths that we took to be true, which is like I was talking about, it's shallow to be doing this. And there was a woman who's an editor of a wonderful magazine. And she said to me, don't ever think that what you're doing is in any way shallow or silly, because you literally are changing women's lives and men's lives for the better, and
absolutely.
And so that's, I work to enhance people's lives. And my vehicle, or my medium, is your visual presence,
which is so strong, because it works in concert with the inner self. So you have the outer self and the inner self, and it has to all work together for you to feel cohesive and like, I am my best that I can be. And I think that that's incredible. Okay, so in The Style That Binds Us, you have created something that I think is so necessary and so powerful for women. And it's also highly informative. It looks like so much fun. You have many facets of your business, of your media company. You have 24/7 stylist, fashion consultant, podcast, YouTube channel, mini mag. Please explain what that is. I'd like you to just delve a little into the various aspects of The Style That Binds Us. And do you have a favorite aspect of your business?
Well, the way it all started was I already had set up my business, and my daughter was a buyer at a department store called Barney's. So it's luxury department store buyer. And in that process, she would say, you need to come up here and meet with this brand that we just met with. I think your clients would love them. So we started working together that way. And then she started, sometimes I would say, oh gosh, I keep getting the same question over and over again. I wish I had this is giving my age away because I'm 60, a cassette tape that I could play for people. And she said, no, you just need to start a blog. Well, I have no idea how to start a blog, but I started a blog that answered frequent questions like, am I too old to wear a blank? All that kind of stuff. And then she had a blog about how to get into the fashion industry because so many people were contacting her. A lot of older people say, could she talk to my niece? She didn't have any time. So she started writing a blog and we could just send the blog to people. And then she said, if you really need to do this on a YouTube video, because people can literally watch you talk about 3 ways to wear a moto jacket or motor whatever. And then here's their closet and they can literally see what they've got and, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I thought that was so far fetched, but then it started to make sense. And that's when we came together because we could reach a larger group of women. So we have a larger group, meaning, someone Delia's age or younger, someone starting a career, all the way up to people, much older than you and I. It was a resource, a source of information for these people. And that's what I told Delia. I said, I'm not a mascot. This isn't a mommy and me thing. It's going to be where anything I put on social media, any video we make, anything is about someone else gaining some knowledge from that. Because Absolutely. I'm not a person, I cannot be where you just, to put a picture of yourself up and say, here I am, this is my look or whatever. I mean, I'm not cutting people down, but I wanted to make sure it was going to serve other people. So now in that same vein, we host events with designers. And I love that part because I love this event list, this group of women that we have now that, keep coming to these events. And now sometimes they'll bring a friend and things like that. And they're always asking, when is the next one? And it's not just a sip and see. It's more about listen to a female founder, network with other women, to
get inspired by the people that you're meeting. And
exactly.
Yeah, so absolutely.
That's the part I love. And then the podcast is always interesting to me too, because we're selective about who we have on there just because no one has a lot of time, including us. And we want to make sure it's something that will reach, all of our audience. So, but that's an interesting part. And then I love working, with women one-on-one. And now what I'm really loving too is we're doing more public speaking, like soon we're going to be speaking to a group of young lawyers at a law firm. And we're going to talk about building a core professional wardrobe in 2023 and what that looks like. And we spoke recently to a group of women at another law firm at the designer's showroom. So that's really fun to me. Because
you also just had a post where you did talk about building a core wardrobe,
right?
Which I found was so helpful. And on your website, it went deeper into it, and it's really nice to just have all the pieces laid out, so you can be like check, or I need, yeah,
right. And that was kind of the point too. Like you could print out the checklist that we have on the website, and then you go through and you check off what you have, you circle what you don't have yet, and then that goes into a list maybe on your phone of things you're going to be looking for. And it doesn't all have to be done at once, but when you're out and about, you think, I'm shopping with friends, well, what do I need? Then you just pull up your list.
No, which is really smart. And it also sounds like, as you said early on, Delia said, Mom, you need to be on YouTube. Clearly, she recognized the talent and insight and wisdom that you were bringing to your future endeavor. And I love how it was really a lot of it was Delia, right? And you had a vision and she had a vision, but that, how you work together. So speaking of it, and I've met Delia and she's darling, absolutely darling. And that's actually how you and I got connected, was through Delia. What is it like working with her? And obviously it sounds like you really balance each other out. Can you delve a little more into that?
Yes, we do balance each other out because it's great working with her. She is such a go-getter and has pushed me out of my comfort zone again and again and again. For example, I would have never thought I'd be on a YouTube channel, but she also asks me always when I say, well, we can't do that. I can't do that. I can't ask that for my services. She's constantly saying, I don't understand why not. I don't understand why not. Why you need to think bigger, Mom. You need to, she is the marketing person. She majored in marketing. She is the business end. And she's also another generation of women who are feeling very comfortable having a seat at the big people's table.
As they should.
As they should. And as it's exciting for me, she has to remind me, whoop, there you go again. Oh gosh, you're right. Of course I can do this. So
she's really helping you push your envelope.
Yes, it's
in
great.
A fabulous way.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're the mother and one of your jobs you've always felt was to set an example for your daughter, when she says something like that, then you're like, well, gosh, now I'm really going to have to do it, because if I don't, and I'm the mom, what is that telling her? So it's,
so this is a great moment where you might be uncomfortable trying something new.
Yes.
And that, I think, is a really important message for moms, because often after being, a stay-at-home mom for a while, you're like, I've lost my skill set. Do I know anything? Is my skill set even relevant anymore? Am I relevant anymore? So what you just said there, talk a little more about just having the courage to jump and do it.
Right.
Because what's the worst that can happen is you fail, but you learn, right? I mean, that's bad.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, it's okay. We have a lot of things going on.
I know it. People keep saying to me, you're so courageous. And I don't feel courageous in any way. What I feel is my thought process was much different than when I was, let's say, Delia's age. Then I was, less sure, more concerned with what other people think, and now I was thinking, well, does it really matter? Why am I? And that came from Delia too. When I would say, I can't put pictures of myself on social media. Well, what my friends say. And she's
yes,
like,
you can.
She's like, Mom, what? It's like, well, people my age don't put pictures of themselves on social media. This was a couple of years ago, but it's still, not my favorite thing to do. However, I'm very devoted to the brands that we don't work like with only a few specific brands, but when we find out about a brand that we feel strongly about, we love the founder's story, then we will wear the clothes and talk about them on social media, have them on a podcast, have an event with them, whatever it is that we want our audience to get to, fall in love with the brand too, and things like that. But I think that this getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. I also got divorced and moved to New York City at 59. And that could be terrifying, which of course it was, but it's also life renewing. It's just, I'm very happy about all of that. And I think that if you can just say to yourself, like you said, I mean, we've lived not so long now, but really, what's the worst thing that could happen? Even if it's that you lose money or, whatever it is, you can, as Delia has said to me, you could really probably do anything that is put in front of you.
We love that girl.
Right.
I love where she's coming from. I think it's so important for women our age to say, you're not done and you can do anything you want. And I love your line about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because unless you push the envelope, you don't know what you can achieve.
Right. And then it works. And so then you do it again, and then you get more comfortable with it. And, and then you realize how far you've come when you think back, I would have never been brave enough to do this 2 years ago or whatever it is. Right. But, I think we're going to talk about the blog post that you wrote for me, but I loved how you talked about when moms think, what happened to me? I was this at one point. I used to do this. When you think about all the things that we really do, it's like running a corporation.
Absolutely.
For sure. All the things. I can't wait for people to read that, because when you read the list of things like negotiator that we are, on a day-to-day basis, you just reading that, I think, will boost people's confidence, and they'll realize, oh, I do that. Oh, actually, I'm really good at that. And then they realize
Absolutely.
they have things to offer. So that's
well, thank you for that. And I'm so excited that my blog is going to be in the August edition of Celebrating Life Over 40.
Right.
Let's talk about that, because that was something that was your inspiration, I'm assuming. And why was that so important to you to create the Celebrating Life Over 40 newsletter?
Right. Well, you're going to laugh at the answer to this. It was Delia. Delia kept saying, you need to talk about aging. And I was saying, I don't want to talk about aging.
Really?
No one really wants to talk about aging, and she said, but you have this platform and it's happening. It's just going to happen to all of us. And you're going through, asking, what is this? What's happened to my arm here? What's it? All these questions that I started having. She said, if you have them, other people your age have them.
Absolutely.
So, and you have the
universal.
connection. Yeah. You have the connections with people to get information, which is what I started my business for. I wanted to find the answers, and then I wanted to share them with people. So it took me a little while, but then one day I said to her, I want to talk about aging. And she was like, finally, So once I did, I thought the best way to do that is to have this newsletter. And it might lead to other things too, some events and things like that. But right now it is a monthly newsletter about things that are happening in my life, and also things that I hear other women constantly talking to me about when I'm either with friends or when I'm in their closets, the clients' closets and things like that. So then I'm like, okay, I am going to talk to a dermatologist and see, is there really not anything that can help us with blank, or is there something that can help women that have melasma or whatever it is, so then I'll have the dermatologist on to talk, to write a Q&A type thing, or sometimes I'll do it on a podcast if I think it's something.
Right. And I would also say to our listeners that your podcasts are so informative, and you brought the dermatologist onto the podcast. You had someone, and I'm spacing on her name, who she talked about getting paid what you're worth.
Oh, totally.
That was fascinating. And you have so many informational and inspiring podcasts that talk to all the things that women who are over 40 are absolutely dealing with.
Right.
And sometimes we don't even realize that we're dealing with it. And then you're sort of like, oh my God, that's in my life. Yeah.
Right. And, right now, women, AI kind of, scares me, but I have women talking about, she's a lawyer, but she's 61 years old. So if she went to get another job now, could she, because of her age and all that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of those conversations. But then when we're talking about the style that binds us in general, we'll also have someone on, a doctor that talks about fertility and what it means to freeze your eggs and things like that. So, that's the wider range of women in a broader sphere. But for sure, over 40, I think when I work with women in their closets, my main feeling is that I have their back. I'm not going to let them be embarrassed. I'm not going to let them look,
inappropriate or
right. Or just like in the back, someone will be trying on a shirt that she just was sold at a store, but in the back, it clings in all the wrong places. But she doesn't know that. And I'm seeing it, and I'm like, I cannot believe they sold you this. That's just driving me crazy. But that's going to be a shirt that you have to wear under a jacket, that kind of thing, those things. So she's, I just want women to be respected and, and revered. And so there again, that's the thing with celebrating life over 40, whatever it is that can give women the power so they, they feel strong.
I love that. And it's so important, especially as you said, to have a woman's back, when it comes to fashion. oftentimes, I mean, we've all been there, right? You go into a store and they're like, oh, that looks wonderful on you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, I know it doesn't look good on me. Why are you telling me it looks good on me? And so to have someone who is honest, who's closer to your age, and who really understands, what colors you look good in, and yes, you can wear this, and
body type.
Yeah, and your body type. And that just having someone who has your back, I think, is so critically important, because as we were talking about, right, clothes is the outer work, and it's how the world sees you first, and then once they get to know you, then they get to know the inner as well. But it all works together.
And also, when you walk in a room and when you exit a room, when you walk in a room, are you going to be the person that, let's say you walk into a store, are you going to be the person in the store where someone comes up to you and says, are you shopping for your daughter? Or are you going to be the person that comes in and people stop and look and think, I want to look like her, even if it's I want to look like her when I'm her age, whatever it is. But, not having women, any woman our age, feel invisible. That just drives me crazy. It really does. So
I love
we're
that.
not invisible.
Yeah, we are so not invisible.
Right.
And with a media company such as yours, and the what you do for women helps to elevate that sense. So I applaud you for that.
And so are you.
Thank you. So as many of us are celebrating life over 40, what are give us just a few style tips, some of your favorite brands?
Well, the main thing about style tips is you need to know your body type. And this goes for anybody at any age, but our body types are going to change. And if you're still trying to wear the same things, right, and you're still wearing the same things, and you're like, I used to think this was so cute. It's.
Do you ever notice that even though you're the same weight,
yes,
2 years later, your body is totally different?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like this is one size, and then this is one size, right?
It
and
shifts.
also it's like
shifts. Yeah.
Right. You're like, well, I remember thinking the other day, well, if my legs looked great, but my arms were gone, I could work with that. But if my arms look great and my legs were gone, I could work with that. But when both of them need to be covered up to a certain extent,
right
now, that's so complicated. And so then I'm thinking, what I have to find now is things that don't make you hot, but that can go cover your arms a little bit, but you still feel sexy. So those are the kind of things. But the body type is the most important thing. Once you know your body type, that kind of defines your style. Because if you think, I want to dress like Coco Chanel, I want to dress like Coco Chanel. Coco Chanel, is the woman who put everyone on a diet. Everybody had to go on a diet after she created her boyish clothes because they had curves. She did not. So, if you have hips and a waist, like for me, the Chanel suit type look is never going to work for me, no matter how much I love it.
And I think most women have waists and hips, and we have curves.
And it's a pretty thing to have, right?
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful human, female form. So the same thing with if you have broad shoulders, that's going to tell you what kind of tops you should wear. If you are a pear shape now, then you're more petite here than you are down here. So to create balance, you need to have something with puff sleeves or with a definite hem or with like epaulettes, like how trench coats and things have those loops right here. That's called epaulettes. Anything or a boat neck looks really beautiful. So there's little tweaks and tricks. And the other trick I would say is try to create a column in your body. So when people are looking at you, they're looking at you from your head down to your toe instead of like on the edges. So like sometimes nice, comfortable, oversized sweaters and pants look not only sloppy, but they also don't do anything for your figure.
Right.
So, and I'm not talking about being uncomfortable wearing
it sounds like you're talking about one sort of cohesive look, and it can have color in it, but there's a coordination and and just a sense of like it's all working together.
Right. And if you are wearing a big baggy sweater, then you put a necklace on, a bead necklace, because you're trying to bring the attention back to the center. You're trying to frame the face, right?
Right.
So a blazer works, a cardigan, anything that creates, and monochromatic dressing is wonderful. Tone on tone dressing is wonderful. Black and navy, obviously,
classic. It's a New York classic, right?
It
Black
is.
and
Black and if you're now larger, let's say you're chest has gotten bigger. So you're larger up top and you have tiny little legs, then you wear darker colors on top and lighter colors on the bottom, and vice versa.
There's so many wonderful tips and hints, for getting it right, getting it right. So I wanted to ask you, do you feel at this time in your life, or rather sort of getting, to this time in your life, that to be passionate and purposeful about what you do is helpful in helping you step into your more, and really as a lesson, for other moms, or as like a just something to think about, how helping other women to step into their more, but making it come from within, which it really sounds like, after all we've been chatting about today, but that so that has really come through loud and clear for me about where you are coming from.
Right. Yes. And I think, to me, it's not like running from getting older, but you forget you're getting older when you're busy and you're soaking in knowledge still, right? And you might be that person who now is waiting for grandchildren and plays bridge or mahjong or whatever, and enjoys that, and that's your life, and that's fabulous. But if you're someone who's doing that and you don't feel fulfilled, but you're, thinking, well, this is just what you do at our age, someone said to me, well, this is the time that we need to start traveling a lot. And I said, why? And she said, well, we're in the last quarter of our lives. I'm like, oh my God, you're 60. You can travel 30 years.
You've got a long time ahead of you.
Think that it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I think some advice I got, and I'll finish with this. I think this is very important. Surround yourself with people younger than you and older than you, right? And the younger than you is important, because I always forget my age when I'm with Delia, because like I said, I've got to slow down. I'm 60 now. And she said, is that going to be your excuse for everything? I'm like, no, it's true. She's like, whatever. We need to record, whatever. So being around her with her energy and, all of the things that we're doing has definitely kept my brain very stimulated, to say the least, and challenging me, not in a
and you're still growing and learning.
Right, exactly.
You're always growing and learning.
Yes. And then obviously older people too, because they have knowledge there. They can see life, in a bigger plane or whatever, on a big plane. And then people, I think girlfriends too, because a lot of times when I spend a lot of time with Delia, and if I say, oh my God, there's another gray hair, she's like, please do not complain about this, but when you're with your friends and you say that, they're like, oh my gosh, me too. This is dry. We can commiserate and we can laugh about it, and we can talk about, well, I'm using this product now, or I tried this exercise, so it's important to be around people your age too. So I think that,
and the younger people, I love Delia's perspective, where she's like, just get over it. It's no big deal. Just get over it.
Right. And she told my mother came to visit, and she's 86. We were at dinner the other night here in New York City, and she looked at my grandmother and she said, I have one thing to say. Age is a number. You're amazing. And, you came to New York by yourself. You've been to the museum today. We're going to a play tonight. We're going to the ballet tomorrow. You can do anything, don't, a doctor told her that she was now considered old. And so Delia was like, you're not old. I mean, you're old in certain ways, maybe, but
maybe chronologically.
Yeah, right. Biologically or whatever.
Biologically. Yeah.
But so that's, I think that's why people always say you're as old as you feel. I think if you can not concentrate on that and not be sort of terrified by that, or feel like you're running out of time, then you can really concentrate on yourself, give permission to yourself to, just like you did, you decided, I think I'm going to start a podcast and talk about this because I have been thinking about it so much. And
I lived it. So absolutely.
And you lived it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that I think, as women get older, it's so important to remember that we bring with us wisdom and experience and maturity, which is not to be taken lightly. That is important, and it informs you in a more robust and a deeper way.
Absolutely.
Than when you're in your 20s and 30s.
Oh, yeah.
You're learning all that. Think about all the things you're learning then which inform the woman that you are now.
Right. And my mother at 86 is, when I talk to her, she is so busy. She's going to some lecture. She's going to garden club. She goes, I'm watching the show Breaking Bad. That. I'm like, you're watching Breaking Bad? Mom, that is terrifying. That's a horrible, scary show. She's like, well, I've got to finish it now to see what happens to these people. I'm like, I'm sure nothing good. But, she has always said, I want to keep informed. I want to read, she reads magazines. She's always telling me about new things. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the key too, is like you said, we never stop learning. And when you have more to learn, you feel young. I mean, it's not like, well, this is the end. I know everything I need to.
No, you never know everything. You never know everything. You have such a wonderful outlook on and perspective on life and aging gracefully and beautifully and using that inherent knowledge that we have gained through all the years, being home with our kids and then reinventing yourself. You really have a phenomenal story of reinvention. And I'm so thrilled that you shared that with me today, because boy, I've learned a lot. And I would really also like to say to my listeners, please check out the website, The Style That Binds Us. Everything will be in the show notes. And it is entertaining and highly informative and inspiring. So I just applaud you and Delia for what you've created and everything that you will create in the future, because Lord knows you are so not done. You have so much more, that's going to happen.
That's great.
You're just you're on that train and you are going. Right. So Alison, I just want to say thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And, again, everything will be in the show notes, and please check her out. Any other final words you'd like to say?
No, I just want people to get to read your blog, your article too, because it's so wonderful. Everything that will. I'm so excited when I read.
Thank you, and that will be on your website. Same month.
Right. And they need to subscribe to get it. So this is when I normally get Delia. How do they subscribe to the newsletter? But I'm just.
It's easy. It's on your website.
It's on the website.
Your email, and that's how you get it.
Yes.
So again, Alison, thank you so much for spending time with me today, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Sounds great.
I'd like to give a special shout out and thank you to What Every Mom Needs to Know for their 5-star review. And here's the review. Mom to More podcast shines a direct light on every skill a mom uses to raise a child. It may not be a corporate boardroom, but the shared skills are universal. If anyone you know wants inspiration, this is the podcast for you. The first episode is incredibly honest to a woman's journey throughout raising children. It is raw, organic, authentic, and beautifully executed. 2 thumbs up. Can't wait for the next episode. And a very special thank you to What Every Mom Needs to Know. I am so grateful for your enthusiastic and kind words. And to my other listeners, leave a review and you might hear a shout out featured in our next episode.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of Mom to More, be sure to follow us, leave a review, and share this podcast with other moms.